The two single most powerful spiritual phrases are found in the first two books of the Christian Bible. And those two phrases are one, let there be, and two, I am. We see the first phrase in the very first book of the Bible, Genesis. We know Genesis, even without the Christian or biblical context, means the origin, the beginning of something. And we see this phrase through the creation myth where God has a desire to have something exist, to bring something into existence. In order to translate that desire into physical reality, the words let there be are spoken many, many times to bring those things that God desires to see exist into reality. Let there be light, let there be darkness, let there be morning and night, let there be seas and oceans and all the animals that walk and crawl and swim and fly. All of that happens to create what we know as our physical reality. We know this as the creation myth because it isn't meant to be a literal interpretation of how the world was created. I think the intent is really to understand that with God resident in us, we too have desires to create, to see things brought into existence, whether they be our projects or whatever ideas we may have. All of us have a desire to see something that does not exist. And we have that desire often throughout life. This is really the creative impulse. I think it's important to recognize that before the action of bringing something to life is the thought, the idea. God has the desire or the thought first, and then speaks that thought into actual words. The process of taking something from thought into spoken word is a materialization itself. Something inside of your mind can't be seen or heard by anyone or anything other than you. But as soon as you bring that idea from your mind into the expressed vocal word, there's now this vibration that other people can intersect and hear and respond or receive or add on to. I think this really is how we should think of beginning any new project, any new goal. Before we even start trying to accomplish or bring something to life, we should have it exist fully as an idea in our mind and then speak that idea out loud, generally to someone trusted who can reflect that idea back and go, yes, so be it, or amen, let it be so. It's also interesting that let there be, the creation of the environment, actually precedes the declaration of the self. We don't see God say, I am, until Exodus. Many of us don't recognize that the I am often proceeds from the let there be. The I am proceeds from what environment we've existed in, what has been around us, what we've called into being without even really being conscious of it. You didn't really get to choose where you were born into. You didn't get to choose your family environment. You didn't get to choose a lot of the early influences that shaped you. So the let there be, the existing environment, preceded you, and the I am developed as a result of that. So I think when we're wanting to have significant change or growth in our lives, I don't think that we recognize how much of the I am we haven't actually declared for ourselves. But then when we are now actually expressing our desire of what we want to see in existence, we recognize that the I am may be in conflict or not supportive of what our desire is to bring about. We are wanting to say, let there be, but something about the I am may be blocking us from letting there be. Then we're in this process of going back to the Genesis or the origin story and unpacking that and going, well, how did this I am come to be? What is the backstory that created this I am? Because now I am the creator. I'm probably going to need to reshape my environment in order to see the I am that I want to be arise out of that new environment. Looking at Genesis and Exodus and these two very powerful spiritual statements really gives us a framework for how we can become the lead creator in reshaping, reforming ourselves. What that looks like is assessing everything around you. What are my relationships? What was my background? What was some of the family ideas I had? What was the religion I grew up in? What are some of my ideas about other people and myself related to other people? If the self that I want to be is not compatible with that, then how do I recreate that environment? How do I shift my relationships? How do I shift my ideology? How do I shift my understanding of myself in relation to other people? How do I change the things that I'm exposed to, so that the I am that I desire to be basically has fertile ground to spring out of. For me, those are the things that warrant really understanding myself as the main character, to understand my backstory, my identity, and then from that, I'm able to then recreate this idea of myself, this manifesto, which I've called my declaration of self. And really the root for that is the spiritual principles or the spiritual statements of let there be and I am.